Hi, my name is Jonathan. I'm going to be talking about universal healthcare in America. So, millions of people in the U.S. struggle to pay healthcare as it is right now, and it's only gotten worse as time has gone on. And I feel like universal healthcare is a right that everyone deserves to have in America, no matter rich or poor, anything. So, the main points I'm going to talk about today is our current form of healthcare and what's wrong with it. There's a lot of problems with it, misconceptions about universal healthcare, how much universal healthcare would cost, and how a lot of people see health or universal healthcare as socialism, but it's really not. And how having universal healthcare could change the lives of millions of Americans every year. So healthcare in the U.S. A lot of people already know this, but one of the main things that's a problem is drug prices in the U.S. I mean, insulin, based on one study in 2019, is 10 times the cost of insulin in other highly developed countries. And over the past 10 years, I think it's gone up 3 times what it was. So I mean, it's a real problem, and there's really no reason for it to be so high. And I mean, there's no reason for drug prices to just be so much higher than manufacturing costs because insulin's pretty cheap to manufacture, yet it's so expensive. And then I mean, it shouldn't cost as much as it does to save your life, you know? Because I mean, you could walk into the hospital for a broken leg and come out with like 3 grand in medical expenses, even with insurance. And it's not right. A lot of people can't afford that, and it's a problem. And then I'm going to talk about misconceptions with universal healthcare. So a lot of people think that with universal healthcare, you're gonna have to wait way long. Like even if you walk in there and you're like falling apart and dying, you're gonna have to wait like hours. And it's not the case. A lot of people get that misconception because like one study, I think it was in the UN, where wait times are pretty high, but in almost every other country, the wait times are pretty similar to what the U.S. is, maybe even better in some cases. And a lot of people also struggle with the quality of medical care in other countries. And that, I mean, it's sort of fair, but at the same time, it's not. I mean, even if we do go to universal healthcare system, our healthcare is not going to change anyway. Like, I mean, you're not going to get worse doctors. They're not going to move to a different country. So, I mean, our healthcare will probably, for the most part, stay the same. And and then I'm going to talk about the costs of universal healthcare. So, universal healthcare, it would be very expensive. I think Bernie Sanders put out a 30 trillion dollars, I think he said, in 10 years. And I mean, people debate on whether or not that's correct, because it is quite high even by a lot of professionals' standards. So I mean, and with that, I mean, there would be a tax increase for sure. But when you factor in the cost that no American would ever have to pay health insurance again, or any of the medical bills for hospitals, which I think come out to about 10 grand a year for the average American in 2018. I think at the end of the day, a lot of Americans will actually be saving money versus losing it. So yeah, and then next I'm going to talk about universal healthcare and why a lot of people think it's socialism. And this is a big one because I mean it's really not. Healthcare. They obviously lobby in the Senate and propaganda because I mean, there's a lot of money in the healthcare business. Everybody knows that. So I mean, it's not even just that. There's a lot of immigrants in the U.S. that came from places of the world where there actually was like communism, and they just it scares people just to hear socialism, so they just try to stay away from it. Yeah, but I mean, there's plenty of countries around the world like Canada and the UN that they're not communist, they're not socialist. They're free countries, and they still have universal health care. So it's definitely possible. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is how universal health care will change our lives, or could change our lives. So in 2018, 30 million people did not have health care. Like they just couldn't afford it. And with the prices of hospitals, like I think an ambulance ride would cost like $20,000 or something like that without healthcare, just to survive. Like if you have a heart attack, that's not right. And that's by the Census Bureau. That's at the 30 million. And I mean, I think the Census Bureau also said 30,000 Americans die every year from lack of health care. So, I mean, if there's any way we could change that, because I mean, those are some pretty staggering numbers. If you ask anyone, is there any way to change that? We should, because I mean, it's your right to have good health care and be able to survive. It's not just, privilege. It's everyone's right to have good health care. So that's basically why I think healthcare should be publicly funded in the U.S. And yeah, I don't think it should be a privilege to have healthcare. I think it's your right. So thank you for listening to me today.